at the beginning of my automotive like foray and getting into cars and stuff like that, Subaru was the bee's knees. The Subaru WRX STI was the desired car. That's what all the kids wanted. That's what we wanted at the time. And then just one day I woke up and all of a sudden it's like, hey, no, this is an LGBT mobile and this is for people that get into scissor fights. How did that happen? How did we go from like this off-road rally car machine that is just the bee's knees to don't buy this unless you're a homosexual? So that's what we're going to be covering in today's video. How do we get from point A to point B? What exactly happened? All right, so before we get too far into the weeds, look, when the Subaru originally came out, it was badass. There's no denying that. It was a no-nonsense rally, basically race car that you could get for a very affordable price. It was built for the rally. Look, Connor was driving it, Richards, Peters, turbocharged, all-wheel drive, manual transmission, blue paint with the gold rims and the giant wing on the back. This was a very recognizable rally car. Like I said, like this was the industry standard. This is what everybody wanted. I wanted this so bad. Like I always used to be like, one day I'm gonna get me one of those cars. Now, what did we get when it finally came to America? We got a 2.5 liter turbo boxer engine, 300 horsepower, 300 foot-pounds of torque, 6-speed manual transmission, all-wheel drive, 31,500 miles, or dollars. Not bad at all. 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, quarter mile in 13.23 seconds, 104 miles per hour. Those are decent numbers for 2004. 2004, they didn't have good cars. 2004, if you're not old enough to know, you guys are living in blessed times right now when it comes to the automotive field. In 2004, like the fast cars was a small block Chevy and something with like maybe a set of heads on it. That was considered pretty fast. So 300 horsepower, that was a lot. Let's compare that. We got the Evo, 271 horsepower. The 350Z, 287 horsepower. Mustang GT, like the muscle car, 260 horsepower. The STI was right there. It was right where it needed to be. It was a good performance car. And again, it came with the Brembo brakes. It came with all-wheel drive, turbocharger, manual transmission. It was set up. This is very good for 2004. Okay, so what happened when they stopped making them in 2020-21? Subaru WRX STI had 310 horsepower. That means in, 17 years it increased by 3%. It picked up an extra 10 horsepower. Well, what about the rest of the cars? Comparable in the price. A Mustang GT went from 260 horsepower to 460 horsepower. The horsepower went up by 200 horsepower or 77%. Corvette went from 350 to 490. That's a 40% increase, a 140 horsepower increase. BMW M3 went from 333 to 473. That's a 140 horsepower increase, 42%. Basically, Subaru stayed exactly where it was, essentially because it got abandoned, and then everything else went on without it. All right, so I didn't know this at the time when I went and checked one out. This is when it really, like, the ice bucket water of reality was dumped down my back when I figured out what was going on with the STI. So I didn't know this. I went and test drove one in 2020. I knew the legend. I knew the rally car. I knew the turbocharger. I knew the all-wheel drive, the giant wing. That's what I'm going for. Everybody used to talk about the STI like, oh, this is just the most amazing car ever. You need to buy this car. It's the best car.
Is exactly what an enthusiast wants to drive.
Like I said, I wanted this car for years. I'm like, as soon as I get my money, that's going to be the car I'm going to finance. That's the car I'm going to buy. Well, I went to go buy one. Yeah, I went from my Malibu, which I paid about $10,000 for. It was a 2-liter turbo. It has 259 horsepower, 295 foot-pounds of torque. It's comfortable, it's quiet, it had a moonroof, leather interior, heated seats, completely loaded. So that's my baseline. So I finally go and test drive the Legend. So what am I getting here? First impressions, it feels like I'm driving a fishbowl. I'm just sitting way high up. There's glass surrounded all around me. I didn't like the way it felt. The interior felt cheap. The interior was rattling. I mean, we're talking about, I think it had less than 1,000 miles on it, and I'm getting rattling noises out of the interior. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? The ride was rough, but you know what? That's okay because it's an STI. So I take the sales lady around, and she's like, okay, you know how to drive a stick? I'm like, well, I'm not buying this until my girl rides in it because she needs to make sure that it's going to work for her. So we're going to get on the interstate, and you know what? All these things, it's okay. She's complaining about it. I'm like, don't worry about the loudness. That's fine. The rough ride, you know, that's fine. Cheap interior, that's fine because it's an STI. We're going to get the payoff. This is going to be a awesome car. I promise. Just wait till you see this thing perform. And then I floor it. Remember, I'm going from a baseline of 259 horsepower to 295 horsepower. I'm looking at a car that costs 4 times more than I paid for it. It's got 305 horsepower and 290 foot-pounds of torque. I floor it, and basically nothing happens. I run it all the way up to the catch-up. I just shift gears. Like the motor's making a bunch of noise. The turbo's just a howling, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, where's the freaking power? On paper, yes. The STI is faster, but not 4 times faster. It's definitely not worth 4 times more of the money. So I'm like, this is disgusting. I was so disappointed because I've been talking about this car, like how awesome it was for years. She literally like looks over at me like, because she's kind of like bracing herself, waiting for something to happen, and nothing happens, and she's like, yeah, it was that bad. She literally laughed in my face because of how shitty the STI performed. So that same day, well, they're like, well, hey, we got to use Dodge 17 SRT 392. It was actually cheaper than the STI. So we're like, all right, well, we'll go take this for a test drive. It's a naturally aspirated 6.4 liter, 485 foot-pounds of torque, 485 horsepower, 475 foot-pounds of torque. I get in it. It's got a leather interior. It's big. We had an infant at the time. There's plenty of room in the back seat for a car seat. It was comfortable. The car just felt really, really, really good. It felt like a family car with balls. And then I take it for the test drive. I go to get on the interstate. I drop the hammer. Boom! The whole car goes sideways. Going sideways, going sideways. Woof! Whips the other way. Going sideways, going sideways. Big ass cloud of smoke behind me. What do? I get back and I immediately sign the paperwork. I'm like, I want it. Yep. Where do I sign? Let me sign this paperwork right now. Come on. Give it to me. Here's my credit card. Take my money. Give me the car. So I buy the car immediately. So it turns out that actually the rear end was out of alignment, so that's why it just took off. So after I got the rear end aligned, now the car is predictable and it drove straight, and I was actually kind of disappointed because I went from this terrifying sports car to something that's very predictable, has great road manners, and honestly, at the end of the day, I kind of wish I would have bought the Hellcat because I could have got a base model Hellcat for just a little bit cheaper than I bought this car for. And yeah, it didn't scare me anymore. So I should have bought the Hellcat. Lesson learned. You know, if you go and test drive one of these, understand that it's very possible that the rear end's out of a line. And if it is just going to woo, be terrifying. Like I got back to the dealer, I'm like, hey, does anybody got a napkin? I think somebody put piss in my pants. So now we understand that, like why they ultimately killed the Hellcat, or killed the STI, and why it slowly moved away from being a legend to being average at best. Now, where does this lesbian thing come from? Because I thought this was just a joke on Subaru haters, and they'd be like, oh, that's a lesbian car. If you're a homosexual, you need to buy a Subaru. Well, yeah, I was assuming that the memes were just memes. Well, they weren't. So back in the mid-90s, Subaru did a study, and they researched, and they found a disproportionately amount of lesbians were buying their cars. This is real. Like, this is legit. So Subaru realized what their customer base was, and, well, they went after it. So in the 90s, everybody was all nervous about advertising for the LGBT. They knew that was their target audience, so they started dropping little Easter eggs. For example, on a couple of the license plates, they put Xena on there. Xena Warrior Princess, I guess, is like the apex, super, ultra, mega, like, scissor fighter. So, like, when you're talking about Xena Warrior, they ultimately assume that that's talking about, like, some sort of lesbian reference. Then the whole P-Town and P-Townie. Apparently, this is a huge, huge LGBT hangout. And again, that's what they did. They started targeting their buyers. They found out who their customer base was, and they started targeting it. And while they were targeting that, unfortunately, they forgot about the STI. So they basically abandoned the car, because look, at the end of the day, The LGBT community and the car community, there may be some overlap, but a lot of them just don't go together very well. So they pretty much had to pick a side. Who's bringing the most money in? Well, the LGBT community. There was other Easter eggs too, like it's not a choice, it's the way I was built. Okay, you know, that kind of stands out there. Get out and stay out. Now, I don't fully understand this one. I'm assuming that it's because, like, even when I hear lesbians, I'm like, lesbians? And I was like, get out of here! So I think that's what that has to do with there. Entirely comfortable with my orientation. Yeah, once you actually see the Easter eggs, now you can't unsee them. And they're just packed into Subaru commercials. Like I said, I never noticed them because that's just not the side of the fence I play on. And you have to be playing on that side of the fence to be able to notice that stuff. But yes, they are definitely in there. After they're pointed out to me, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know why they just don't start their commercials off with a big old rainbow going across or a rainbow like landing on a Subaru. Anyways, so then eventually they stopped hiding it and they hired that lesbian tennis superstar. And that's what they go for now. They're just full on mainstream and they pretty much made it like, dude, if you're LGBT, you need to be buying a Subaru. And if you're driving a Subaru, well, you're LGBT. They go together like peanut butter and jelly now. And it worked. It worked very well. They built a very loyalty brand. Again, like they built on the stereotype. Go out and just let your hair grow and go out in the woods and go camping with your girlfriend. So, Subaru had two different audiences here. You have the STI audience, rally, turbo, manual transmission, giant wing, performance, motorsports. And then on this side you had outdoors, all-wheel drive, safety, camping, hanging out with your girlfriend. They had to split this because these audiences, again, there is some overlap, but pretty much they don't really intertwine with each other. And ultimately, this side of the spectrum performed better, so they just stopped working on this side. Maybe the reason this side didn't perform better is because they quit working on it. So they ultimately ditched the Subaru WRX STI because that's when they killed it. It was just over with. They said, look, because of the new EPA regulations, which are gone now because they could bring this car back if they wanted to, we're no longer going to do any more new gasoline STI engines. We're going to convert over to electric. Again, they're going to their customer base. That's typically what their customer base wants. The irony is Subaru didn't forget how to sell cars. They actually got really good at it. We just didn't notice the signs. The writing was all over the wall. I never noticed it. I'm assuming you didn't notice it because you're watching this video. So, what is the biggest enemy of the STI? And that is the STI itself. It built this enormous legend to being like the apex of rally cars, and then it just never got touched for 17 years. It basically, like, there was some body styling and stuff like that, but the power plant itself was left alone. They picked up 10 horsepower in 17 years. Over this amount of time, the average horsepower on the road was like 200 horsepower. By the time they got rid of this car, now we got the Hellcats out, we got the GT500s out. Like, these look absolutely trash compared to them. Look at how the Hellcat changed. It started off with 707, and its lifespan it ended with 1,025 horsepower. They started with 300 and ended with 310. It's clear they weren't trying to keep this car alive. Anyways, so that's what's basically happened with the whole lesbian thing. Again, it's not a meme. They specifically chose to go after that type of customer. And it makes sense. Because you can go on any place and like, look, if you drive a lesbian, or sorry, if you drive a Subaru, well, you're LGBT, and if you're LGBT, you need to go buy a Subaru. That's just the way it is. They automatically look out, and I worked at an oil change for a place for a time, and yeah, I never put the two together, but no, looking back at it, yeah, there was all lesbians driving those cars. Anyways, appreciate you guys watching my videos. If you like to help support the channel, click on the Amazon affiliate link in the description. Even if you don't buy what that link is for, just clicking on it. Doing the Amazon shopping you're literally already going to do anyway, I'll kick back for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.